Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for my Mass-Based STEM Expo presentation for CS 241 Web Development with Professor Obetz. This is part one of my presentation, as I also have a video for my project management class. In this video, I will be doing a walkthrough of the website I made, a brief tour of my code, and the lessons I learned during this project. For my project, I wanted to create a daily log system. A daily log system is used in the physical security industry to create a record of what is happening during a security shift. So here's a login page for my website, SecLogs. You must be signed in to get past this page. You can also create a new user from here if you wish. I'm going to go ahead and log in so that you can see the daily log page. Once I'm logged in, I'm brought to the main page of the website where you can see my daily log grid, as well as the daily log form on the right. I used a web component to display each daily log entry and ensure the styling was consistent. You can see that you can select different timeframes for the daily logs that you wish to see by using this time selector here. When I go ahead and fill in a new daily log entry form and hit submit and refresh, you can see that that new daily log entry has been added to the top of my grid. This is a very simplified version of my original plan. I originally intended additional modules, but due to time constraints, I had to activate my risk management plan and cut some modules out of the website. If you want to hear more about that, please check out the project management video that I've created. Let's head over to IntelliJ so I can give you a brief tour of my code. Now that I'm in IntelliJ, you can see that I have divided my project folder into a client folder as well as a server folder. What I'm on right now is my app.js page. You can see the libraries that I'm using are imported at the top here. You can also see the session cookie that I've created and the routers that I'm using down here at the bottom. There are some choices that I made in this website, knowing that they were not the best choices to make, such as hard coding certain passwords. This is not something that I would have done if this was an actual project or if this was in production. But in the interest of time, I made this decision for now. Moving on to my database connection, you can see that I used an ORM called Sequelize to set up the connection to my database. This is useful for when I want to create my database on a new computer or if I'm trying to create a new project from an old project. But overall, I don't think I would use Sequelize again. This took me a very long time to figure out how to use and to set up. And I actually know SQL, so I don't think the benefit is actually there for me. However, you can see that I used this to also hash the user passwords that are stored in my database. And you can see all the different tables that I set up. Now, as I said earlier, there are a lot of tables in this that I am not currently using in my project because I had to cut them out in the interest of time. Moving up to my client folder, you can see that I have divided the different sections of my website into an HTML page, a JavaScript page, and a CSS style sheet. This is an easy way for me to keep the functions of my website separate, as well as to troubleshoot when I find bugs. I know exactly where to go to look for that bug. I also have two folders up here for the two web components I created, my nav bar and what I called my view, which is what is being used to display the daily log entries that I discussed earlier. The navbar web component doesn't make a lot of sense now that I removed a bunch of modules, but when I had a menu up there, it was an easy way for me to stay consistent in my styling and to ensure that it always looked the same without having to repeat code on each of my pages. This is the first full stack website that I've made, and as such, this was an amazing learning experience for me. One of the most important lessons that I learned was the importance of starting small and working my way up to greater and greater complexity. When I first started working on the coding of this website, I knew what I wanted the final product to look like, and I started to try and code all of it at once. In the future, I'm going to break it down into simpler steps. First, set up the app, then create the database, connect to the database, build a single router and endpoint, and get that working, and then add additional routers and endpoints as needed. From a more technical standpoint, I also learned how to use Sequelize and web components and how to hash passwords that are stored in my database. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please check out my video on the project management portion of this project. And if you have any questions or comments, please add them down below, and I will be happy to get to them as soon as I can. Thank you so much.